Hey, Soul Warriors, this is Jessica Noel, and I'm coming at you with Season 2, Episode 10 of my podcast, Uncovering Your Authentic Soulful Self. And today in Season 2, Episode 10, we're going to be talking about walking in your fire. So this is going to be a topic that we talk about walking in your fire, the connotation or definition, and 2 to 3 multiple ways. So this is going to be a nice episode. Today is Easter Sunday, so it's a special day, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of things that I would like to tie into that as well. So before we get started, why don't you take a moment, if it's possible for you to close your eyes. Take a couple deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Again, slow, long, and deep. One more. And like usual, I want you to drop your energy down from your head, from the thinking mind, the doing mind, and drop it into the heart center. Let yourself, your energy reside there in the heart center. Let your heart open. And then I also want you to bring your attention up here to the top of your head. There's an energy center on the top of your head and above. And just see if you can connect with that as well, while leaving a little focus on the heart, but also focus above the head, on top of the head. Breathe in again and exhale. Feel your body on the surface that you're on. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel yourself fully present in your body and in this present moment. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. So I'm really excited about bringing this episode to you today. Walking in your fire. So that's what I want to talk about today. I do have a couple of notes because I realized it was going to be very vast. So like I said, we're going to talk about this in multiple ways. So when you think of the word walking in your fire, that has a lot to do often with purification. So when you're walking in your fire, let's talk about it in the way of purification. So fire means purification. It means transmutation, meaning you're turning one thing into its opposite, right? So if you're turning anger into peace, or happiness, or shame into, let's say, self-doubt into confidence. So you're basically transmuting, turning something into its opposite. So it's an alchemy process, right? So that is another representation of what fire does. And also it's activation. So fire is an activation. So the first meaning that I want to talk about when it comes to walking in your fire is basically, I want to talk about the wounded part. So walking in your fire, walking while you're purifying your wounds and your behavioral patterns that you're wanting to let go of. So as you walk through that, it can be a challenging process, right? Some people lately, okay, I want to back up and say that I mentioned this in one episode, and I've mentioned it in a lot of my groups, right around December and into the present time now, that I kept getting the information over and over, and I have actually heard it from a couple other people, so they're getting it too, is that we're in this time period where anything that's been hidden within ourselves, so that would be something like emotionally, physically, even mentally, or within our relationships as well, anything hidden or so that's not known about yet is coming to the surface. In addition to that, anything that you knew about but wasn't completely resolved or healed is coming to the surface. So it can be an intense time for some people because all of this stuff is coming up to the surface now, and it really can't be avoided because we have to purify before the next thing comes. Okay, we got to get rid of this stuff so we're not carrying it when the next wave of healing and activating frequencies come. So it's really important to do that and to allow that to take place and understand that this is for your highest good. This is not like to challenge you or to make things hard or make you feel depressed or sad or angry, because there's the variety of different experiences people are having in response to this sort of coming up and out, what's hidden and what's unresolved. So I want to give a couple examples of that. One example was somebody that Oh, I've heard a lot of examples. A lot of them are emotionally, okay? So things that they thought were completely healed, but oh, wait, no, I didn't get that completely healed. Some people are having surgeries and different things going on with their health that they had partially addressed, but not fully. There are some people that are having some new things happening with their health that are they were hidden. They had no idea that they were there, but they were there already. It's just more like, okay, we need to become aware of it and heal it now, both emotionally and physically. Okay. And when you're with somebody that is a healer, that will just enhance, or that knows what they're doing, even at a sort of physical, structural way, that will allow that to take place. Miracles are very abundant right now in the energy that we're in. So it's a beautiful thing. So as you're walking in your wounds and shadows, it can be really challenging. So I want to talk to you, those of you listening that might be in a dark night of the soul, is one way to say it, in a place where you're going through an awakening and all of your wounds are coming to the surface and it feels very, very challenging. It kind of goes back to the episode that I did that was lengthy about overcoming your fear through surrender and unconditional love. It can feel like you're covered in darkness. It can feel like there's no escape from it, but I just want to assure you it will pass and you will be a different version of yourself. It will pass. As you walk in this fire, it could be that it just happened all on its own. I've talked to people recently where it happened spontaneously out of nowhere. It wasn't like anything triggered it. I've also talked to people where they have had a loss of a relationship, or of even somebody has died and crossed over to the other side. And that has triggered it. So whatever it is, it's really about using your tools. So crying, release through crying. There's different types of crying. Maybe it's going to be a loud cry. Maybe it's going to be a quiet cry where the tears just fall. Whatever it needs to be for you, allow it to happen. Do not stifle it. Crying can be incredibly purifying and healing, okay? It can also leave you sort of tired. That's because you just released so much all at once. So let yourself cry. It does do certain things in the brain. I'm actually hearing that right now. I don't know what it does in the brain, but it does something in the brain to release certain chemicals that are very helpful for you in your healing process, is what I'm hearing now. So you might want to check that out. I'm sure there's something there you could find online what that is. But the point is, please let yourself cry. That's a beautiful form of release. If you're angry, go to a safe place or a place where you're alone in your house and scream. That can be really helpful. You can punch pillows, you can punch a punching bag, whatever you need to do, physically release it. Okay, you can throwing things is very healing. Throwing things in somewhere that's not going to damage anything. Pray, 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 pray. That was the first episode that I ever did on this podcast. It was all about your connection to the divine. That's your foundation. So when you pray, do I have it here? Do I have the book here I wanted to show you? I have this book of prayers where you can just open it randomly. I guess I wasn't supposed to show that today, but it's really nice. Let me make sure. Yeah, I don't see it. It's this really nice book of prayers, and you can open it at random. And there's a prayer there that will mean something significant to you. So go ahead and send me a message if you want, and I can give you the title to that. It's a really nice one to have to open at random. And everybody that I've ever heard has tried it. It always resonates, the prayer that comes up, and usually it brings tears about too. The biggest thing that happens in that book, I think, is that it really makes you realize, oh man, I was connected to God in a way, but I wasn't talking to God. And I'm not talking, understand when I say the word God, I'm talking about omnipresent love. I'm not talking about a man sitting in a throne or anything like that. Okay. This is an energy. This is omnipresent love. And so you talking to it and talking to, this, whatever word you want to use to describe this energy, asking for the things that you need, talking to this energy like it's a friend and pouring your heart out to it. I'm saying things like, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, this is really hard for me, or saying, I really want this in my life, because God wants you to have, universe wants you to have what you want to have. So that can set in motion a series of purification so that you can become in alignment with those things that you're saying that you really want to have. Okay. Just like we've talked about a lot before, you're the frequency that you're at, which is how much pain and how much wounds and negative emotions are you carrying. dictates a timeline that you're on, which dictates what you're able to experience in all ways, including relationships, jobs, finances, and so on. So if you release, like we're talking about walking in your fire, and you come up here, now you've got a different timeline and access to all the different things. So our goal is to get to our highest timeline and continue to grow always. There's never a time that we won't stop growing, no matter how enlightened or realized you are. There's always more. Like I said last time, it's only the tip of the iceberg. Okay, so stay humble. The moment you go into ego is the moment that the growing stops until you release the ego aspects too. That's another part of the purification. The biggest tool I just said, pray to the divine. Make the divine, the creator, God, your best friend. And don't be afraid to ask for things. Like I said, that your birthright is joy, is happiness, is abundance, is anything that you desire. And let's correct the word desire, anything that you prefer. Desire is I want to talk about that in a minute, is a very intense and lower, it is a lower vibration. I've heard that somebody that I know talks about that a fair amount. And I like to use the word preference, because we do have preferences and we get to have those. But when we talk about desire, it's something we're attached to, is why it's a lower frequency. Okay, we're attaching. So let me talk about that briefly. Hang on a second, I need some water. Okay. So I was meeting with someone just a few days ago, and she was talking about this desire. So in her case, desire was an accurate word. She was talking about this desire that she had had for many, many years, to have a partner, to be in a relationship, to be maybe married, or at least in a committed partnership. And it hadn't come. And she said, as all this time passes where it hasn't come, this hole in her, or this feeling, and she pointed here, in there, it just keeps getting more painful. It gets bigger and more painful. So of course I'm looking at it like, oh, that shouldn't be that, that's kind of the opposite direction we want to head with it. But I think that's so common. So I want to talk to all you guys about it. For some of you guys, it's not going to be about a relationship, right? It's going to be a lot more about, maybe a job, or financial abundance, or something like that. It can get more, your desire can grow if you're going about it in a certain way. So we want to move away from that. So I'm going to give you some examples and tools. This is another part of walking in your fire, because this is a really major wound that a core wound many people have. Desiring something very strongly that isn't coming. You will not get it if you stay in desire, period. Say it again. You will not get it if you stay in desire, period. That's a sure way to not receive it. You're completely attached to it, and that energy does not bring it forward, okay? It is true that you need to be in alignment with that in a way that's detached. So you have to be on the timeline of the timeline of desire is not going to get you the mate that you want, okay? It could bring some toxic people in if you want to try that. You can learn a lot from it, but I don't recommend it, and you don't have to do it. We're not in a period now where we have to do any kind of challenging learning and play with toxic relationships and stuff like that, okay? So as she said this, I'm tuning in and I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, so we start talking about divine masculine and feminine, and that you really have to balance both your divine feminine and your divine masculine. And certain things, and I've touched on this a little before, certain things can leave your divine masculine or your divine feminine wounded. And often this starts with your relationship with your parents. And then a lot of times it repeats to other relationships, like other experiences with significant others, that just kind of touch in and add to the pain, because you've got this wound. So you're going to draw more wounded people and experiences to you. Unfortunately, that's just the way it works. Actually, fortunately, because that means that we have opportunity to heal, and we have no choice really but to heal. Okay. So I talked before about how I had this wounded masculine energy that I had to heal, that was back behind me. Basically, I shoved it back there, and I'm just leading with my feminine when I had already healed my feminine. But I needed the masculine, because there's certain things that I couldn't do well, or that were challenging for me, because I was shoving my masculine back there because it was wounded from experiences that I had externally with men. So opening up to it is good, but attaching to it is not, right? So the way to first you need to heal. Let's talk about it from a female perspective, and then please, any of you who are males, reverse it. Okay. But you can also have a wounded divine feminine. So there's a lot of women that lead with their masculine and shove their divine feminine away because they have an unhealed one. Okay. So you've got to work with whichever one you have. So for me and for her, it was a wounded divine masculine. And the way to heal it is you have to let it come forth. And I told you before, mine kind of was swinging from like getting kind of aggressive and, at least energetically, sometimes I would get aggressive because there was like this protector energy that wanted to come out and maybe attack anybody that could potentially be like deceitful or something, I think. But mostly that was just happening in my head. I didn't really externalize it. So when you let divine masculine or divine feminine come forth, just try not to lash out at any person or communicate with the other person. You can feel it and understand, oh, that's divine masculine and they're trying to balance. Then it comes into a balance where you can have a healed divine masculine. So one thing to do is look at what are your beliefs about men. Okay. So I had to do that, and I teach other people to do that. Write down all your beliefs about men. And your beliefs about men are subconscious. They're not things you consciously believe. They came from your experiences with your father figure and or with relationship partners and experiences that you have. So once you sit there and say, I'm going to uncover all my unconscious beliefs, what are they? And you make a list. I believe that men are, some common ones are, I believe that men cause pain. I believe that men are dishonest and lie. I believe that men cannot emotionally support me. I believe that men cannot support themselves. I believe that men are self-centered. Now, I don't believe any of those things. Okay. I believe that there's a mixture of all types of men, right? So the only type that I would get would be a balanced masculine that would enter my life, unless it was a client that I was supporting to move up vibrationally and to heal. So these are some of the beliefs, right? So once you have those beliefs, you can do this tapping technique. Please let me know if you want to come to a session. We'll do tapping sometime. Maybe we'll do it on one of their sanctuary Sundays, so I can teach you this technique. It's very, very simple and rapid, and it clears the belief in one session. There are times when people have to do 2 to get it all the way to 0, but it can be done in one session. And the energy work I do, we do the same thing, and it can be done in one session. So first, identify what are those beliefs. So then you can heal your divine masculine. Something pretty profound that came through in the session I'm referring to is what I want you to say. I'm probably going to say it twice. What I want to tell you is that the level of health of your masculine energy, if you're a female, for example, with me and her, me from the past, well, for me now too, that is what magnetizes the opposite sex to you. So whatever level of health you have in your divine masculine is the type of divine masculine that can enter your life experience. That's what magnetizes it to you. So when I had this toxic divine masculine energy, basically because it was very, very wounded, the type of people that were manifesting as potential relationship partners were incredibly wounded. And some of them were very toxic, right? Because I had shoved this back there and just left it unhealed. As soon as I started healing it, then other options that I could see as maybe potential partners, or just men in general that were healthy entering my life as friends or, and other kind of acquaintances. And so if you have the same thing goes, if you have an unhealthy, a very wounded divine feminine because of your mother or other relationships that were traumatic, where they treated you badly, abusive, or whatever it was, then you're going to attract and magnetize to you, and they will feel comfortable probably, because what's comfortable can be trauma bond. It can be very unhealthy. So don't take comfort as something that's good necessarily. Okay. If you are not healed, comfort can feel like abuse can feel like comfort is actually how it can go. Okay. So you're going to magnetize women to you that have that same frequency, which would be unhealthy. It would be wounded. It would be unhealthy or toxic frequency, right? If your divine feminine is unhealed. So whatever frequency, even if you're in a higher frequency, but your divine feminine that you've shoved back here, or your divine masculine you've shoved back here is at a low frequency, it magnetizes those people to you. Okay. So that was like some new information that came in. So it's so key to walk in your fire and start to heal those. Walking in your fire also can be releasing through writing. So if you like to journal, if you like to write down, I choose to release, and then write down what it is that you've uncovered that you're choosing to release, and then maybe burn it. Do anything you need to release it. There's so many forms. dissolve it, do anything like that. Sitting with all aspects of yourself is another way. So I've done a post on that. I mentioned it last time. So call forth all the aspects of you. You have aspects that are incredibly wise and loving, and you have aspects that are maybe addicted, that are maybe incredibly wounded, that are maybe lying or deceitful, that are maybe selfish. Who knows? But call all the aspects of you in and sit with them. And then what you do is you love them and you accept them unconditionally. No judgment. Call them all forth, all parts of you. No judgment. Sit with them, love them, accept them. And again, that high frequency of doing this in itself starts an alchemy process where those very aspects that you've now accepted fully, non-judgmentally, and loved will start to dissolve. And that creates you being a higher version of yourself, because now you've raised significantly in frequency. Now you're on a different timeline because you've just become a new version of yourself through the simple process of sitting with all aspects of you, loving every part of you, and completely not judging it, right? The other thing that can be somewhat similar to that is a meditation I've talked about before, where you sit and you say, where has my love not yet reached? So you say it again and again. First you say, where has my love not yet reached? You're basically asking for something to come forward. Oh, I haven't forgiven myself for this thing that happened. I still have guilt. Let me love that. And then again, where has my love not yet reached? Wait for something to arise, and then love and heal that. Okay. Sometimes one part of you could speak wisdom to that other part. This could also bring forth like an inner child. Good. So ultimately, as you do these things, all parts of you will begin to integrate. So your child version of you, your teenage version, they all start to trust you because you're taking the reins, you're mastering your life, you're mastering your mind. You're consistently over time doing things that are healthy for you and taking good care of yourself. Pay attention to the hierarchy of needs, making sure your needs are met. All these parts of you are not going to start to kind of flare up and have that kind of emotional roller coaster, because it's starting to trust you and there's an integration that starts to happen. Okay. Another really good one is gratitude lists. Gratitude lists start to raise your frequency. So I suggest people to do it every morning. Write at least 3 things you're grateful for. If you don't want to write, you can at least call them to mind while you're still in bed. And before you go on to the next one, the most important thing is for you to feel the emotion of gratitude before you move to the next one. Let it wash over you. I'm so grateful that spring is here and that it's a beautiful spring day. Then let that wash over you. Feel the energy of that, and then move on to the next one. And that's going to by itself start to shift things and start to make you feel more gratitude. It raises your frequency. It can help to lighten the walking in your fire as you're purifying these wounds, because like I said, it can feel very dark during this time. And so some of these tools can be very helpful. Definitely seek support. Ask somebody that you know is a high frequency spiritual individual. Hey, can you pray for me? I'm going through this. Or hey, can I have a session? If there's somebody that's a healer or somebody that can help you in that way. Or maybe it's a phone conversation that you need. Seek help as you move through this, okay? Do something, let me see, I wrote a couple of things down here. Oh, do something different to change the outcome. So one thing that we do, and we keep forgetting that we're doing it, is like we keep doing the same thing over and over and over that we've always done. And we're like so in the moment with all this, like we're in it. So we can't see, oh, we're doing the same thing, expecting something new to happen. And so that never can happen, right? The only way to get a new outcome of what you're living right now is to do things differently. And that can be challenging because it's not in your comfort zone. You have to do things differently. You'll have to sit in some of this pain. You'll have to become aware of some of it if you have that in you. You'll have to choose to be in that place of love and joy. You'll have to do a gratitude list that you're not used to. You'll have to maybe ask for help, and maybe you're somebody that there are people that often they don't like to ask for help. They tend to resist that, but asking for help is really key a lot of the time, right? We're not supposed to be walking this path alone. And another thing is, like, when I speak a lot of times I'll say a friend of mine said this, or a friend, I don't have like hundreds of friends. Like, a lot of times it's the same friend that I'm referencing. I have a small group of friends because there's not a lot of people. They're becoming more and more and more that are on these higher frequencies on this particular path. But get you a solid group of friends. You know, the Center for New Life is building a community, so you're going to meet some of them there if you come to some of our events too. Okay. The other thing you got to do sometimes, so anyway, trying something new, and it can be one thing, it can be one small thing that you do that's new, and you do it consistently. Like I told some client of mine and I, we sat and we did 7-second breathing, inhale through the nose for 7 seconds, exhale through the mouth for 7 seconds. And we set a timer for 2 minutes, and it was miraculous how much different we felt. So he's going to start doing that regularly. And I suggest that for you too. If that's your meditation, set a timer, 2 to 5 minutes. The key is every single time you meditate is a drop in the bucket, right? So when you do it with breath work like that, it is very transformative in a very short amount of time. Keep in mind too, I am still doing this meditation initiation and this practice this spring. So once our spring calendar comes out, that will be there. All of the practitioners, all of us at the center are very loving, very supportive. We are very much servants and light workers. And so every single one of us we have powerful healing abilities. We're very humble and loving. So please come and check us out, especially at our open house in April, by the way, April 14th that's a Sunday, from 1 to 4. There's free sessions that you can come and get, mini sessions, and we're going to be rotating and doing talks. So it's going to be a wonderful day. There'll be refreshments, like some food, snacks there too. We had one in the fall and it was wonderful. So please come to that. Okay. That was a side note. Boy, the one foot in front of the other, I have had to do that a number of times. So what that might look like is, yep, I'm waking up, pain's still here, can't escape that. And it's really intense and it makes me feel sick physically too. I have had that as well. And I know a lot of you have experienced that. It's like it takes you down in a really challenging way. You got to get up and you got to put one foot in front of the other. And you just got to get up and do your stuff, right? Whatever you have to do, you could get up, you shower, you go to work, you do one thing, to get cry while you're doing it if you need to. Let the pain be there. Don't try to run from the pain. Let it be there. Let it sit there. That's how it transforms and alchemizes. Sometimes quickly, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time. So you have to be patient and allow it to be there and know that it's teaching you something. So you are in your becoming. It's like you're in, I like to describe it as the butterfly. So the caterpillar makes this cocoon, right? And then they're sitting in their goo. Did you know that they actually completely liquefy? That caterpillar, it completely liquefies and then reshapes and reforms into the butterfly. So as you're sitting in your goo is really what's going on, walking in your fire, sitting in your goo, you are transforming, but you don't know it yet. It just feels really hard. And it's like you're coming apart and liquefying, right? And you have to sit in that. And then the butterfly emerges. And it's a beautiful thing. And you're a completely new version of you. So that's one way of walking in your fire. Let's see, what else do I have? One foot in front of the other. Where has my love not yet reached? We talked about that. And keep going. Just keep going. So I like to say that service to others is love in action. So sometimes when we're having pain and maybe we've been in it for a while, maybe you've been in pain for a while, physically, mentally, emotionally, and it's feeling particularly challenged, you begin to focus so much on, oh, I'm in pain, oh, this is hard, that you become self-centered about it, right? I used to work in addiction with women with trauma and addiction. And that's one of the things that program, but also even just the 12 steps teaches you, right? So that's a good tool for all of us to use. Get out of yourself, because when you're focused on how bad you hurt and how much this is horrible and everything, you're feeding it, right? What you think about, what you put your energy into expands. So you got to basically, you're still sitting with it. You know it's there. Okay, I acknowledge you. I see you, pain. You're still there. I'm going to walk with it. I'm going to walk in my fire. I'm going to walk with the pain. I'm going to keep doing my stuff. And then you can also say, okay, I'll process more of it tonight. So set some time aside to sit with it, maybe to cry, maybe to do that meditation, where is my love not yet reached? But start to do something good for others, and it will get you out of it very quickly, at least for that time period. If you start to be of service to others, and I'm not saying bypass, definitely don't do that, but you can do nice things. Just do nice gestures, nice things to others. Call somebody and tell them you care. Do something nice, a good deed. And that will help you start getting out of being self-focused and focused on the pain, and it'll help you to keep going. So you're walking with lessons. Okay, so that's the next part. Let's take a minute and see if there's anything more about walking in your fire in that regard. It's really about keeping on moving forward despite how much pain and wounds that you're in. And also not projecting it to anybody else. You have to sit with that. That has nothing to do with anybody else. Do not project that through arguments. If you're feeling that intense anger or that sadness, don't put it on someone else as their fault. That's yours. Anytime you feel any kind of emotion, happiness, joy, sadness, love, that's yours. That's not anybody else's. It's not because they did this or that, or they are like this or that, and so I feel mad or sad or in love. Those are yours. So when it comes to low vibration emotion that you don't want to carry, you have to take responsibility fully for it, even if somebody did do something that created the trigger response in you to have that emotion. You have to move through that on your own. Okay. Let go of attachment to all things. So I want to say this about love really quickly. That was one of my biggest teachings, and that's something that I like to say to others, is years ago when I was going through a really challenging period. It was after an ending of a relationship that was not a healthy relationship. And there was a lot of learning and things that came after that during the healing process. And one of the most profound ones was that love that I shared with this person was not their love. It was not love because of them. It was my love. And I still had it. Okay. So if you have lost a loved one, if they have crossed over to the other side, they're still around is the other thing. So they're still with you, right? So that's a different conversation, but keep in mind the love you had for them is still inside of you. And the same thing when a relationship ends and that person leaves your life. The love that you had for them is your love. That was always your love, and it's still inside of you. You did not lose it. It's there, it's yours. You chose to extend it to this person, and they chose to extend it to you, but it was yours. Remember that always. Good. So the next piece is walking in your fire with lessons and wisdom. So as you're walking in your fire, what we're doing, right, is we're carrying all of the lessons and all of the wisdom that we have attained along the way. During sometimes it's just through activations and these lovely spiritual experiences. And other times we're walking in our fire from wisdom that we gained from some kind of painful and challenging experience, right? So it can be from a variety of things, but it's the wisdom and the lessons that you've carried. What's really important while you're walking in your fire in this way, this is another connotation definition to do so, is that you're walking with all the wisdom and the confidence that you've gained, or I mean, the wisdom and lessons that you've gained and learned. So keep that and sustain that. That's what the key purpose is, right? You've got to sustain that. That means spending time with other people that are high in frequency. That means doing your daily practice, whatever that is for you. It can look different for different people. Maybe you do meditation and yoga every day. Maybe you do prayer and meditation. Whatever it is that keeps you in that higher vibration place so that you can, in a sustained way, keep that high frequency and keep that wisdom and keep the lessons that you've learned. Because if you drop down, an interesting thing can happen where it's like you no longer have access to all of that wisdom and all those lessons that you've heard. I remember one time I dropped way down and somebody said, this long story, I'll suffice it to say, many years ago, I dropped down and they said something, well, I thought you said this and that. This was like in an unhealthy relationship. That you said, and I was like, yeah, that's true, but I don't have any access to that right now because I had lowered down into their level so that I could try to communicate with where they were at. So I couldn't access those higher spiritual truths in that moment because I chose to step down in frequency and attempt to try to save that relationship. So don't step down in frequency. Make them come to you. Okay. If you're in relationship, you stay here, you walk in your fire. This time it's a fire of activation, of truth, of wisdom, of authenticity. You stay here, do whatever you know as your routine, or create a routine that will keep you here in your highest frequency available to you, highest timeline. This is where your wisdom is. This is where all your lessons are. This is where your authentic true self is. And if they're here, you don't go there. Refuse. That is not serving them, and it sure as heck isn't serving you. Make them come up here. If you don't budge and you stay here in this high frequency, they have no choice but to entrain to that. Remember, we've talked about entrainment before. That means they're following your frequency, and they're having to elevate to come and talk to you, or else they can't talk to you. So refuse to lower for yourself, because you love yourself, and because you come first, and because you need to always choose yourself first, and because the best benefit to them is if they have to come up. Okay. They won't come up if you're just going to go down. They'll just wait for, oh, she always comes down, I'll just wait for her to come down. So you always have to make sure to stay in your high frequency, and don't be in a situation where you can't continue to elevate in your frequencies, right? That's why it's like, it can be for some people, it can be a smaller group that you can resonate with. All right. It's like, but don't sacrifice that. It doesn't help anybody. So walking in your fire with your authentic self. So this is kind of the next piece. This is the final piece. As you walk in your fire. So this next definition is about you walking in your fire as your soul self is shining through. So this fire is your soul self shining through. It's like around you, right? So you're walking in your fire. You're staying in that place of full authenticity, of your soul self shining, of the sort of personality version of you not being the one that's leading. Soul is leading the way. Soul is shining through. And you're living as your authentic self. And that can take practice to learn to walk in that fire of let's think of it as different colors. Let's think of the first one, walking in the fire with your wounds and shadows as you're working through those. Let's think of that as purple, the violet flame. You can look up the violet flame in Saint Germain if you'd like. I also want you to then, actually, before we go into that, I also want you to think about, so that's a transmutation, violet flame. I also want you to think about, as you're walking with your fire in the form of wounds and lessons, remember that what it's doing is it's building incredible amounts of compassion. Remember this, what we talked about before, is that sometimes when you're going through these challenging things, they're building incredible amounts of compassion. Today is Easter Sunday, so this is really very much about Jesus, and Jesus represents pure love, compassion, all good things. And here's a really beautiful picture I have of Jesus sitting here. I just want to show you that Jesus had to go through, and I'm not going to talk about Jesus this whole time. There's a lot of different religious things about that. I don't want to get into any of those things, but I just want to talk about Jesus as an ascended master, as a amazing form of divinity that represents love and compassion, and the things that Jesus went through was very much walking in fire with a lot of pain that came towards him, right? And then he developed this immense amount of compassion that and helped to heal a collective, and continues to, right? So love and compassion is what walking in your fire with your wounds and shadows, as you're working through those and keeping on going and using tools to clear that stuff away so you can move on to the higher timelines. It's giving you the gift of love and compassion in such an immense way that you won't see until the end of it. But trust me, that's what we'll be developing behind the scenes, and that you'll see eventually. This is another beautiful one of Jesus. And you see that heart, right? Look at that beautiful heart, that heart opened, fully loving, fully compassionate. That's what is happening. For those of you walking through your fire, you are moving towards unconditional love and compassion. I also want to say that we don't have to walk through fire anymore. I mean, some of us had to, because that was our path and we were clearing the way and part of our mission. But now things are different. I've talked about this before. Our frequency is so much higher now that you can just move into choosing love, choosing joy, choosing happiness. You don't have to go through pain to get there. There are some people that have certain designs and certain missions that they had to go through that. But now I want you to just choose love, choose joy, choose happiness, choose those higher frequencies. And as those higher frequencies now, it wasn't like this even just a few years ago. As those higher frequencies are here, it starts to dissolve all that's lower. So the bypassing thing is not the same as it used to be. You can choose this higher and it starts to dissolve the lower, okay? So living authentically with yourself, back to that. Choosing to always exist as your soul self and always letting your soul self shine through, which really is to say always choosing unconditional love. So when you're walking in that fire, let's talk about that being the walking with lessons and wisdom. Let's talk about that being blue. So you're sort of still a warrior, and blue is associated with an archangel. You can look that up, a blue flame. So you're still walking with that. You are maybe being met with other challenges that, hey, are you sure you want to go down this path, or do you want to go back to what you're doing before? So sometimes there's some things like that that universe will say, nope, I'm not choosing that. Remember, when you say no to one thing, you're saying yes to another thing. When you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to another thing. So keep that in mind as you're sifting and sorting through whatever's coming across your life path, okay? Oh, I know what I needed to come back to. Sorry, before we go with living authentically with yourself, I need to come back to the wounds. So when I was talking to this client with the wounded masculine, and when I talked about my wounded masculine, I want to talk to you about a way to, so when she talked about that, this just kept growing, it keeps growing and growing and growing the longer I go without a partner. So we talked about needing to heal her divine masculine. But the other thing she needed to heal, to think about is, and this goes for anything, if you really want to have a child and it's not happening, you have to fully let go. So we've talked before about, you're basically saying, universe or God or source, this is what I would like to experience. This is my preference. But then your job, the other part of the recipe, like I said last time, is you have to let go fully and detach and be perfectly fine with that never entering your life. That's how detached you need to get. So she never detached from it, right? The attachment grew and grew and grew. So that's what this wound, this open heart, this open hollow heart that she had, that was this desire and attachment that kept growing. So what we want to do is the opposite, right? We want to detach, 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 to where one tool you can do is start to think about, well, what are the good things about not having that in my life? So one thing with not having a relationship in your life is that, you don't have to consider another person, and what are they going to want for dinner, and what are they going to do their own laundry, and who's going to do the dishes, and then you'll have another person's energy, that you'll be dealing with on a daily basis. And it could be, I'm sure there's going to be wonderful things, but it's just different than when you're single and you're in your own energy, right? So there's a lot of benefits to staying single, and a lot of people so badly want a child. And as soon as you finally let go, usually it shows up in your life. So I know somebody that desperately wanted a child came to visit them actually in spirit. So then they attached to that, didn't even want children before that. And then pretty soon it's like huge attachment to it. So it's not going to happen. Finally, through that same process of thinking about all the ways that it could be really awesome life without having a child, think about all the things you could do that you can't do if you have a child. So do the same thing with whatever you're attached to. Think about all the pros, all the benefits of not having that in your life, and things that could restrict for you. And I'm not saying it's like to decide you don't prefer that. It's more like, hey, it's okay the way it is, actually. It's about you becoming comfortable with what is right now and still allowing yourself to have that preference, but being okay with what is. You might also have to, like, as you heal your masculine, you might have to go through some things that are a little uncomfortable. Because like I said, you have to become a different version of yourself to be in alignment with that. For my path, I had to do a lot of things that I had to be all the different roles. I had to be all the different roles in my life. I had to be provider. I had to be a leader. I had to be teacher. I had to be caretaker, nurturer, mother. I had to be all of these different things without anybody there to support that in any way, right? But what did that do for me? It made me incredibly strong. It also gave me, there's a lot of other things I went through, gave me incredibly strong boundaries. So I can be a lot of different things because I had to learn how to be. So I wasn't always, I didn't always have the capacity to expand and be all these different ways. but I had to develop that in order to adjust to what was present in my life. Start to think about, what do I need to develop in me so that I don't have to attach to that? Okay, last piece. This one I want you to think of as a white flame. This white flame is a white flame of activation. Just a minute. The white flame of activation is where you're walking in the fire. And think of it as this white flame all around you. You're walking in this fire of your authentic self, and nothing is going to drag you out of that. So sometimes when you interact with people that are of a lower vibration, there's nothing like, nobody's superior to anybody else. I'm certainly not saying that. But there are people that are different vibrations, maybe family and friends that you're going to spend time with. Don't let yourself lower, right? Keep you being your soul self. They might also be used to you being in a different place. They might have not seen you in this new place yet. Stay strong, because that benefits you, of course, but it also benefits them. The most loving thing that you can do for another person is carry that energy and walk in that fire of being your true, authentic self and letting your soul self shine through. Because just by being in your presence, these people will become healed and will raise their own frequency. And I've seen it again and again. If you're holding a high frequency, you're walking in this fire of your authentic soul self, people's lives will change and they'll start just shedding patterns instantly, and they will start moving up so rapidly, it's unbelievable. And that's because you're just allowing yourself to hold that high vibration of being soul and physical body. Think about this. This body is a temple. It's a temple for the divine to flow through you and to others. So treat this temple well. This is your vessel that you've chosen to use to serve, to love, to support, to heal others. So purify this vessel, heal this vessel, feed this vessel, support it, right? Do everything you can to take care of your body, and think of it like this is the body. This is the temple that the divine dwells in. You are soul, spirit, and physical form. This is you in this physical form. This is your vessel. So be that vessel. Choose. It's as simple as that now. Choose to be the vessel of unconditional love. Choose to let your body, give your body to God, to the creator, to source. Choose to let your body be that temple for the divine to flow through, to heal you and to heal others and to heal the world. And that's what this is all about, okay? I have so enjoyed connecting with you today. Please take care of this divine temple. Please allow it to be that. Give to creator, give to God. Prepare yourself as you wash your body, as you feed your body. Think of it as, I'm preparing myself to serve. And if you're walking in the first fire we talked about with wounds and shadows, think about every day I'm getting up and I'm taking care of my body, and I'm going to go out and do something good for somebody else. And that's going to help you shift out of it, okay? Gratitude helps. Then walk with your lessons and wisdom. No, don't ever let your frequency lower. Embody your soul fully. Choose that. Let's take a moment to close. If it's possible for you to close your eyes, please do so. Nice deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. I want you to feel, see, sense, or know the violet flame surrounding you like a circle all around you. Perhaps it's even purifying you, running through the body. Definitely a layer resides in your energy field. And then outside of that, I want you to see, feel, or know that the blue flame is a layer outside of that all around you. And then lastly is the white flame layered on top of the blue all around you. These are your flames. These are your fire energies that you can use, and it will automatically move through you as needed, all for your highest good and your soul's evolution. Feel your heart opening. Feel compassion moving intensely yet gently through your body. Feel love settling in the heart center, activating and opening it wide. Okay, open your eyes whenever you're ready. I have so enjoyed connecting with you today, and I will so look forward to the next time. Bye for now.